Okay, we're back. So let's see if we can get through this. So this is our uh, crafting demo. Unfortunately, I didn't think to buy a bunch of low-level gear ahead of time to give a more realistic view of how crafting at low levels works. Um, so I'm going to just like crush these recipes when I make them. But I'll explain what I'm doing at least so that you can kind of understand. Um, so the first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about crafting stats. Okay, so there are 3 crafting stats that you need to know about. Well, there's 3 on your person. So the first one is craftsmanship, the second one is control, the third one is crafting points, or CP. Craftsmanship governs your progress bar. So your progress is how much work needs to be done in order to actually make the item. So it doesn't matter how much quality you can have 100% quality. If you can't fill the progress bar, then you don't get the item. Quality, on the other hand, changes your high quality percentage. And it doesn't matter how much progress you have, if you don't have high enough high quality percentage, you're probably not going to get a high quality item. You will notice that even when you have no quality added, you still have a 1% chance of getting a high quality item, and that's not by accident, that's how the game's designed. So you can make 100 shirts and one of them will turn out high quality, but of course you'd rather make all of them high quality if you have the choice, so you're going to want to work on quality. So in order to do that, there are 2 generic types of crafting actions. There are synthesis actions. Synthesis actions are actions like careful synthesis here, careful synthesis, synthesis 2 and 3, and those govern progress. Quality is governed by touch actions, so touch actions like hasty touch, for instance. So each touch action is going to add to your quality, each synthesis action is going to add to your progress. Also, each of those 2 types of actions specifically, none of the other types of actions, just those 2 types, will cost durability. You have 60 durability to work with this item. Some of the items go up to 80, some of the items have as few as 35. So, and we'll talk about different types of items here in a second. But you have 60 durability with this item. That means that I can have 6 steps to 6 touch and synthesis steps specifically to try and make this item before the item breaks. So think of it as kind of a timer, except it's not time, it's steps. And then you can also gain durability back by using actions like Master's Mend here, or Master's Mend 2 if you want, depending on how big the item is. Generally, if you can make it without using a durability enhancer, then that's probably the best way to go, because those are the most expensive actions that you have as a crafter, because durability is meant to limit how many actions you can get. So that's part of the inherent challenge. So let's go ahead and make this item, and that way you can kind of see how it works. It won't be a really particularly good demonstration, but I'll show you. So I want to make it high quality. So first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to use something that will increase the success rate of my touch attempts. That's actually a good thing to talk about right now. So with Hasty Touch, you can see that it has an efficiency of 100% and a success rate of 50%. So the efficiency is how big the effect is. In this case, how much quality is it going to add to my item? The 100% is kind of an abstract. It's basically saying that it counts your stat, your control stat, as being 100% of what it is. Some of them might only do like 80% or something like that. Actually, I think for touch specifically, 100% is the bottom. But they get more efficient at higher levels. So there's like advanced touch is 150%, or focused touch is 150%. So more efficiency means that it's going to be stronger for each action you take. But of course, those higher level ones also cost crafting points. So CP, that third stat that I mentioned earlier, that's kind of the fuel for all of your abilities. So if you want to think of it as in terms of driving, CP is your fuel to get from point A to B. Durability is the time you have to get from point A to B. And progress and quality are your performance in getting from point A to B, if that makes sense. It's probably a bad analogy, but anyway, the point is CP and durability are your two constraints, your two resources that you're spending. And progress and quality are your two goals that you're trying to complete before you run out of resources. So that's the important takeaway here. So the other part of actions is the success rate. You see that Hasty Touch is only 50%. The reason it's only 50% is because it's free. It does not cost any CP. It does still cost durability, but it doesn't cost CP, and that's the important thing. So we're going to want to boost that success rate. Fairly early on, you get Steady Hand. Level 9, actually, is when you get Steady Hand. And Steady Hand will let you succeed more often. It says it improves the action success rate by 20%. What that means is it adds 20 to the success rate percentage. So it says 50% success rate, that means it goes up to 70% success rate. If it did what it actually said and improved the success rate by 20%, then it would only be adding 10%. That's how percentages work. But it's not. It's actually adding 20 to the 50%. So we use that. I could, of course, use Steady Hand 2, but you don't get that until level 37 Culinarian, and which we'll get into in a minute when we talk about cross-class skills. So for right now, we're going to go with what we have. Steady Hand, and then we're going to Hasty Touch. Because, of course, we want a high-level item. I could actually be using the controller. I'm just using the mouse because I'm weird like that, I guess. So, one successful touch attempt. We filled it up. At low levels, it's probably going to be closer to about 10 to fill it up. Maybe a little bit less than that. It'll be a real challenge to do more than 5, though, because you start with 180 crafting points, and you only get stats, any of these stats, whether it's crafting points, craftsmanship, or control, you only get those from gear. So, of course, the low-level gear is not going to give you a ton of crafting points either. So you start out with not very many, and you're adding not a whole lot more at low levels. And that's fine. You probably won't start regularly high quality items until around level 15 or so, really, when you start getting cross-class skills and when you start getting some of the other support skills like Inner Quiet, which we'll talk about after we finish this this piece. So, got my quality taken care of, so now I need progress to finish it. So we'll do a synthesis. Careful synthesis 3 is a bit overkill. You can see it's 150% efficiency, so I blew that out of the water. So yeah, but that's how it works. You make the quality first, and then you make the progress, and you're done. We're gonna try something a little bit harder though, so that I can show you a bit more of the progress. So I'm gonna swap to Blacksmith real quick. As soon as I can remember what I'm doing on this controller. This is a problem of swapping back and forth between PC, because I played on a controller for the first 2 weeks of Stormblood and got really used to it, and it was great. And then I played on my PC again because I finally got Stormblood for the PC as well, and suddenly it was less great. I also haven't updated my equipment on here. And all of the high-level crafters watching are like, oh my goodness, none of that's melded. It's all like just the regular level 70 stuff. I don't believe you don't have your like really cool script stuff yet. It's ridiculous. You call yourself a crafter? That's okay. Alright. So we'll call this good for now, because, yeah. Alright, so let's make molybdenum, there we go, ingot. Materials are. So we'll talk about the crafting log in a second also. There we go. Molybdenum ore and cobalt ore. Do I have any cobalt? Maybe I already have it on in my inventory. Nope, guess I get to go buy some. This is why I should prepare a little more. Wow. Never zoom in and then try to steer. It's horrible. It's like you're a drunk driver. Try not to give free painting shots. Okay. Now I should go mine this, but I don't think you want to watch me sit here and mine for forever. So I will instead be lazy and pay somebody for my laziness. Okay. Okay, so there are a few important actions. I'm going to do a bunch of extra ones that you won't get for a while, but I want to talk about the low-level ones that you will get. So the first one is inner quiet. The first one that I want to talk about is inner quiet. What inner quiet does is every time you do a successful touch attempt, you gain a stack of inner quiet. And then each stack of inner quiet beyond the first, since you start at 1, but each one beyond the first, you get 20% more control. So your touch attempts become better. More importantly though, a lot of the high-level actions revolve around manipulating your inner quiet stacks or doing really good buffs because of having really high inner quiet stacks. So I'll show you one of those here in a second. Let's see, where was I? Like that. And then, oh, I don't have, well, normally I would have manipulation on my bar. That's a level 15 goldsmith skill, which, like I said, we'll talk about cross-class skills here in a second. But unfortunately I don't have it, so we'll just go with what we have. So I've done 3 touches so far, right? You see the bar didn't go up a whole lot. Went up from 1% from 1% to 4%. But I got like 1700 quality. And the 1700 quality, that's I want to say that's right around 1/8 of the 12,000 total quality. So 1/8 is 12.5%. So as you can see, the high quality is not keeping up, and that's pretty much the case. How it raises kind of exponentially as you go up. So your first like 60 to 70% of that bar will only get you up to about a 20% quality. But then the last 40 to 30%, that will get you the rest of the way up to 100. So that last little bit is incredibly important. You also see that I was down to 10 durability, so I had to use Master's Mend in order to get 30 durability back so I could continue crafting. Otherwise I would break the item. Alright, so there's that fail. I knew there would be one somewhere. Alright, so now we're up to 8 inner quiet stacks. I could probably, well, I'm going to try one more time without the, how many do I have? Yeah, I've got plenty of CP, so I can do this. So we're going to do one more of those, and then we'll go back up to 4 stacks. Alright, so I'm up to 9 inner quiet stacks, which is really good. The rule of thumb for crafting high quality items, especially at high levels where it's fairly difficult, is that you want to get it up to 50% quality. And by 50% quality, I mean that you know, 6,192, that's like 48%, something like that. And then once you get it halfway to the total quality, if you started from 0, then that should be enough steps that you will be able to finish it up as high quality from there. So we're going to go with Great Strides and Viragot's Blessing. Yeah, so we got to like 98%. That's not bad. And like I said, if I had been at 50% instead of 48%, then that probably would have been 100%. So, alright, so now we just have to finish it up. So, what I usually do is I do a test to kind of see how much I need, especially if it's an item that I'm not familiar with, because two things are factoring, well, three things are factoring in here. The first is my level. In this case, I'm a level 70 blacksmith, so my level shouldn't be a huge issue for this item, because this is a level 68, 69 item. Item level is, of course, the second part of it. If your level is below the item level, then you take a pretty significant penalty on both the effectiveness of your touch attempts and the effectiveness of your synthesis attempts. But if you're over the level, you don't get a corresponding bonus. You do get a bonus, but it's not like, for instance, if I was 67 trying to make this level 68 item, then my synthesis attempts would probably do about 250 or so. When I was 68, it jumped up to about 320, and now that I'm 70, it's up to about 330. So, huge penalty, but not a huge benefit. Yeah. So, let's do a test real quick and see what we're going to need. We've got 1353 progress that we need to fill, and that gave me 461. So 461 times 3, that's 1200 plus 183, so 1383. Yeah, so we should be able to finish that with 2 more of those careful synthesis tubes. Either that, or I'm really not as good at math as I thought I was. Okay, there we go. And there's an ingot. It's very important to do that test progress thing, and normally you want to do it earlier in the process than I did. That's usually when I'm making a new item, the first thing I do after the initial setup is to do that practice quality thing to see how much I'm getting. So what I will do a lot of times is I will take the amount of progress I'm getting, that was 461, and it's 150% efficiency. So I'll divide it by 15 because everything's in chunks of like 10% basically. So I'll take that 460, I'll divide it by 15, and I'll get a little over 3. Is that right? Oh, well, a little over 30. And then I will, from there, if I can't finish it in however many steps I've allocated, in that case I had 3 steps allocated towards careful synthesis, then I'll look at my other options. So I know that 10% of it is right around 30. Yeah, right around 33, I guess. So if 10% is right around 33, then something like Rapid Synthesis 2 that does 300%, that should be right around 900 that I'm getting, a little more than 900. So 900 on Rapid Synthesis 2, that's a pretty good chunk of my progress. So if I need more, that lets me know how much more I can get and whether or not I need to perhaps allocate more steps to it. Because, I mean, maybe 900 isn't enough. What if I had to do like 6,000 progress or something like that? If I had to do 6,000 progress, then that's like 7 of these Rapid Synthesis 2s that I'd need to do. So anyway, the idea is to come up with a budget before you're in a position where you won't be able to complete the item. And that's especially important on high-level items, because if you don't do that budget right, you risk losing some very expensive materials. So, and we'll talk like a lot more about that when we get to the high-level crafting. But for low-level right now, a lot of your low-level crafts are going to be basically doing basic synthesis as many times as it takes to finish the item. And then once you unlock basic touch, then you'll be doing as many basic touches as you can before you run out of necessary steps to use basic synthesis to finish the item. So you'll want to use basic synthesis in order to flesh out the item, and then once you've used it to where you're like one step away from finishing, then you use basic touches until you're down to that one step, and use that last step for basic synthesis to finish it. There's a technique for that I call baiting out the goods, and you can make lewd jokes if you want to about that. I don't care. But basically, there are different conditions. Let's start another one, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so right now, you have condition normal. You always start in condition normal. There are 4 different conditions in the game. There's normal condition, good condition, excellent condition, and poor condition. And it's important to note that normal it's normal, basically. It always returns to normal eventually. So if you get a good, the next step is guaranteed to be normal. If you have a normal, the next step could be normal, or it could be good or excellent. It will never be poor. It only goes to poor the step after an excellent. So if you go from normal to excellent, next step is guaranteed to be poor, and then the next step after that is guaranteed to be normal. It's important to note how those flow, because it helps you, I guess, predict what's going to happen in the next few steps of your craft. So let's there we go. Let's get this one started and then see how it changes. And hopefully we get a change, because of course this is all random number generator based, so we may not even see one, technically. We should see a few, but we'll see. Or we won't. Well, it seems very adamant that I not be able to, there we go. Okay. So it just changed to good, and you can see that it's good because the little orb that I'm holding in my tongs changed from white to orange. Orange is the color for good. Apparently, orange is the color for good. But then excellent is kind of a multicolor flashing orb, and Pour is like a purplish black hole looking orb. Like, it looks bad, so you should feel bad, I guess. So what Good does for you is the next touch attempt specifically will have its efficiency increased by 50%. So it also activates Precise Touch. Precise Touch, if you use it, gives you an extra stack of Inner Quiet when it's successful. And it also activates Tricks of the Trade, which you can use to turn any good or excellent into 20 extra crafting points. But for now, we're just going to Tasty Touch. I just wanted you to see the different conditions. So when I talk about baiting out the goods, what I mean is sometimes when you have multiple synthesis attempts that you can use, that you need to use in order to finish an item, you can, instead of leaving them till the end and then doing them all at once, which is what most crafters, including myself, usually do, if you really need those good conditions in order to finish your item as high quality, what you can do is whenever it's normal, use a synthesis action. And then when it's back to good, you can use a quality action. So I'll show you what I mean here. So we're going to use a synthesis action. We know from before that we have 3 of those to finish the item. So I've got 1 more that I can use, and then the last one will finish it. So I'm back to normal again. I'm going to go ahead and do my buffs for my Caradoc Blessing. And then I want to, until I get my buffs in place, which is Greater Strides and then Caradoc Blessing at the end, I want to get rid of any goods. So I'm going to use Tricks of the Trade to get rid of that. And then I'm going to use Great Strides. Alright, so now I'm set up, so I have 2 steps that I can do before before I run out of buff, basically. But I can only do 1 of those as a touch. So actually I could do 2 of them. I'm going to do a Careful Synthesis too, and even though that means I'll have to do an extra action, that gives me 2 actions that I can do before I finish it. Yeah, that'll work. So it's still normal. So we're going to do it again. Basically, we're waiting until we run out of actions we can do, or until we get a good or excellent. And there we go. So now we've got a good. So now we do Caradoc. And that was awful because we had a lot of fails. And then we finish up with Careful Synthesis. And that's how you use the baiting out the goods method, basically. You are trying to delay doing your big touch until you get a better condition, and then you do it, and then you finish up the item. Alright, so one last bit, we'll talk about our cross-class skills in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and take a break so that the video stays under an hour, and then we'll be back.